Welcome back to the LEC as XL goes to 2-0 on the 5th week of LEC 2022, and I'm joined by Markoon. Congratulations on this victory on stage, and nice pose, by the way.
Thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
It's a post made by FLICKR, and it's very uncomfortable right now.
Okay. Feel free to switch it up if you want to, but how does it feel to go victorious on your game on the LEC stage?
Yeah, it feels very good. Also because we won yesterday, now it's a 2 week, so it's very good to see that we're on the up, and that after like Mickey joining and it's a bit messy, that we're now like cleanly winning, that we're now winning games, and yeah, it feels good.
I did have a conversation with Youngbuck earlier today, who talked about, the synergy, the support jungle synergy between you and Mickey, and the way he described it is you guys are just good at League of Legends, but maybe I can get more insight from you on how this synergy has been with Mickey, specifically as a jungler so far has been.
I think Youngbuck describes it pretty well. I don't think we have anything special. We're just playing the game. And I think we see the game like quite similarly, because I think we're both just playing like trying to play good League of Legends, so it's working pretty well. And yeah, it is getting better week by week as well. So I'm excited to see like where it's going.
Okay, a random question. How would you define a good League of Legends?
How would I define good League of Legends?
Yeah.
I think just cleanly winning the game, playing towards your comp. Maybe don't start Nash and throw. Maybe don't like start Drake and throw. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. And speaking of like a lot of Drake fights, your Xin Zhao was instrumental in many of those fights. Xin Zhao has been a very popular pick, not only in the LEC, but for worldwide. Like, being able to impact the lanes as well as contributing heavily in the team fights. What do you think about the champion Xin Zhao?
Yeah, I think Xin Zhao is just very strong. It's a solid early game, and then he transitions very well in the Drake team fights, in which most games are decided. It's also very boring to play, and I hope teams start banning it against me soon, so I don't have to play this champ anymore.
Okay, we will definitely keep an eye on the future matches of XL. And you did mention that XL did go 2-0, and everyone seems to be very positive on the upward trend of XL. So I'm going to ask you perhaps a very stable question. Is XL making it to playoffs this spring?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. What are the chances?
100% high, very high.
Okay. And this is my final question, Markoon. XL had a very, very close run to the playoffs in the previous year, but they weren't able to make it. What would it mean for you as a player who's playing his second year in the LEC to make it to the playoffs?
Yeah, it would mean like everything to me. I would be devastated if I don't make playoffs with this like lineup as well. I think I have a very good lineup. It would also mean like the world to the org. Like I want XL to make playoffs as well, because it's like it's very sad that they haven't, and I want to do it for me, for my teammates, and for the org itself, that we have to make playoffs this split.
We'll keep our eyes on XL as well as you, Markoon. Thank you so much for the interview.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we'll head over to Sjokz for a pre-match of MAD versus SK.
Yeah, Ashley, I love your interviews, but we have been sitting like this for a while, and when you asked that last question, we almost didn't make it.
This is exceptionally uncomfortable.
This is so uncomfortable.
Legs cross is
Can
fine,
we let it
but
go now?
Yeah, this is some ankle.
Yeah.
I think it's a trend though. Everyone's going to do it now.
Flexibility. I was not ready.
I don't know why FLICKR started this trend now, but.
And also our age, or like ours at least, is much higher than that of the average player.
Caedrel, you're still a young buck, but when you get old and crotchety, like...
We can't do this anymore. Anyways, great job by XL. A 2-0 week, fantastic. Teams start banning away that Xin Zhao is what we heard. Great stuff.
But the Aphelios ban we were talking about on the desk, Patrick, man, he's had a stellar weekend, I have to say.
Shoe-in, as we look back to Markoon, for Euphoria MVP, potentially, and definitely someone that I'm excited to keep track of in the weeks to come.
Did you see?
What? Oh, did Ashley get it too?
No, he was trying to... He had to come down. It was very difficult. So. Anyways, I mean... We have to talk about our next matchup as well. As you can see right here, the long-awaited rematch, I have to say, because these two are the record holders for the longest game of 2022, SK Gaming and MAD Lions. That was crazy. Was that the one where your mic fell out?
That was the one, the solo cast, where my mic stopped working, and this man had to solo cast 30 minutes of a 55-minute game, or maybe 25 minutes.
And I'm going to steal SK's meme just a little bit. Good news is they beat MAD Lions before. Bad news is the Chemtech Drake is no longer around, so they don't have that at their disposal.
They don't have the 10 versus 5. No, but I think there's a lot of questions around SK, right? I was just looking at some stats there, and thanks to our stat guy Marcus, of course. Last split, SK halfway through the split with a substitute in their support role who was their coach Jayce, and a role swap jungler was 4-5. Right now they're sitting at 2-8. If they go 0-2 this weekend, they're sitting at 2-9.
Yeah, I mean, you needed stats guys for that. That is
Or Google, but Marcus is a homie, okay? He doesn't make us Google stuff ourselves. He's a nice guy.
Shout out to Marcus. Now, I want to do a little bit of question mark pinging, and I know that's always difficult on these rosters, so I do want to contextualize it a little bit. And when I look at SK, I think an obvious question maybe we can ask is, where is Treatz? And we say that because we know he has so much in the tank. He was, in fact, a candidate for the MVP race back in spring of 2021. Drakos, how do you look at kind of the Treatz and what he could bring to this roster?
I think that it's fair to say that Treatz was, like, clutch factor is such an intangible thing, but Treatz was the super clutch player back when SK were doing reasonably well, when they were racing for playoffs. He was the guy that would hex flash over the wall. He was the guy that would make these really massive game-defining plays. And to be fair, I think that's difficult. With the entire team struggling, it's hard to find those opportunities because the SK of old, when he was able to do that, they weren't the best players, but they weren't falling massively behind before the game even really got started. So it's hard for him. And similarly, you're in a meta now where there's a lot of ranged enchanters, and that's, while it is good in the meta, terrible for that style of play from Treatz.
Yeah, it feels like last year Treatz was the life of SK, basically, right? They would lose early games every now and then when it came to mid to late game, they were behind, but one play would crack it open, they'd get an Ashe, and that's how they won games. But right now, it feels like the team is just lifeless. Treatz, he's had a couple of engages. The Mad Lions game is a good example, up against him now again, which is great. And his Hex Flash over the wall with Alistar against Mad Lions last year was against them as well. So maybe they have some kind of like kryptonite against him with Alistar or something like that. I don't know, but I just need to see more from Treatz. Maybe abandon bot lane more. I think he has one of the highest duo proxes. And then play wall towards just finding roams. Just try something different, I suppose.
Yeah, I guess the key is also that all of the parts are kind of failing. There was a very interesting interview with Swiffer that I read this week where he was saying, well, it's a bit unlucky, but there's always something else going wrong. That does mean glass half full. We always find something new to work on. And it actually made me think of what Zanzara said in PGL yesterday, because he said, we didn't focus on us because we were so far behind. We were going to take every opportunity in the game we could, but we focused on what we thought we could shut down in the enemy. But it's easier said than done.
Yeah, and I think it's an important distinction to highlight that nobody on SK right now is playing to the level that they need to play to. So when we look at Treatz like this, it's not to say that Treatz has been massively underperforming. It's to say that, look, we've seen more from you. We know you can be this clutch player, and that's what we want to see if SK are going to start putting wins on the board.
I think we can use similar question mark pings when we look at the Mad Lions. Very up and down performance overall, and we wanted to take a look at Reeker specifically. Champion pool question marks in general. He came into the first week and he played Yasuo, which was actually very serviceable. Then he played 4 Viktor games. Now Viktor is getting banned out and other picks have fallen out of the meta and he seems a little bit lost.
Yeah, the Viktor pick, it's fine, it's safe, it's easy. Let's just play to scale. We don't really have to play around mid as much, so it's a very plug-and-play champion that resolves a lot of problems that you might have if you play through mid. The Yasuo game, we remember it with Diana against Vitality. Elyoya was able to carry the game, but it feels like Mad Lions haven't really decided how they want to incorporate Reeker just yet. Incorporating Unforgiven is very easy. Just pair him up with his support, leave him on an island every now and then. Kaiser will play the 4v4 topside, but mid lane is the central role. It's the core of the entire game. It's the heart of your team. You need to make sure it's winning or at least in a stable spot. Sometimes we're seeing Irelias and Renekton's and he's losing the lane, getting roamed on and dying to them. His team's not around to help him, but he shouldn't really be dying to them in the first place. Some games he's playing Viktor and he's farming up. I feel like they need to make sure they prioritize Reeker a little bit more in the draft to give him an easier time, not get 2 or 3 mid bans, Viktor ban, go to the 4-5s, and then find something deep in his pocket.
And the problem is, I think that teams have just identified that he is a weakness. Zanzara said it last night. He's a Viktor one-trick that goes to melee AD champions when that is banned away. And I don't think that's 100% true. This is something that they've continued to opt into. But the fact that he's saying that, the fact that the Viktor was banned away, that's instantly what he did in the previous game, means every team against this man has a blueprint for success. Ban away Viktor, see what else he's got in the tank. Because so far, the honest truth is it's been nothing. That Yasuo game, he was spoon-fed into relevancy. So I don't want to be overly critical here. He's still a young player, but these melee AD champions, I feel like have to go.
I think it comes with the territory of being brought into this championship team, unfortunately for him. So we're hoping that he can find his footing. But both teams are looking to get their regular season back on track in week 5. So let's see who can bounce back first.
We'll find out whether or not Mad Lions can pick up a win after the defeat yesterday, because the 1-in-1 curse or blessing, as it were, is still available for them.
It is a feature. I'm not sure if I'm not sure if it's intended or not. Of course, week 1 with 3 games sadly ruins that. It is perfectness, but 2-in-1 there and still playing the games.
Well, we'll see what they're going to do as we load up into picks and bans. Mad Lions will be on the blue side, SK Gaming on the red. Of course, for Mad Lions, looking at the fact that XL just picked up a win moments ago. Yes. The Mad Lions lost yesterday. That middle of the pack, the middle of the table, that fight for 5th or 6th seed in playoffs is heating up.
It is so messy. It's down in the mud, down in the mire, and we're yet to see that really break up. And a reminder that MAD coming into this game lost their first match versus SK. That's on their minds too, probably, I'd guess.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be very, very important if they find themselves in a position where wins and losses are at least close with SK. Of course, SK do have some catching up to do. We jump into draft. Jarvan, Twisted Fate removed from the pool. Wonder whether or not SK will follow the advice of Drakos and just ban Viktor from Reeker. He's played that 4 games this season already.
Yeah, and I think the thing with Reeker is that the way to sum him up for me is that he's not as self-sufficient as a laner as MAD Lions are used to. Now, when they were playing through Yasuo Diana, it's very easy identity. You can play towards that quite easily. Something like the Viktor, again, is quite typecast in what he does in the game. It's very straightforward what Reeker should be doing. I think I agree with the desk in trying to limit some of the variability from Reeker and then actually draft more towards that bot side, which I feel like is their real win condition.
Well, the first ban from SK is going to be that Twisted Fate. Let's see what Jezu and Treatz will get their hands on. Huge amount of talking points. Malphite and Zeri removed from the MAD Lions. So what does this leave open and available for potential first picks?
I'm thinking that with that Malphite ban, Jayce is on the table, actually with the Hex Drinker buffs.
Rise as well.
Jayce is really good in that top side. I'm just looking at both these top laners thinking, that's something which Jenax played against the Jayce yesterday. Rise, of course, on the, off the table as well, so good call on that one. Question is now, out of your remaining power picks, you've got stuff like Aphelios, which is something which Jezu hasn't played a single game of. Might be something which MAD Lions save until they're 2-3 actually because of that. But bot lane power pick AD carries, something important too.
Well, what do MAD Lions feel is a higher priority? It's going to be the Jayce. Well played there. And is, of course, the second most played champion for Armut. 28 professional games, 64% win ratio. And SK, what will their answer be into this?
Okay, so while we don't talk about hovers, the Gwen is actually not too bad on that sense. That might be safe for later into the draft. Now, as I said, actually Jezu has not played a game of Aphelios this split. Question is, are they still willing to pick that up right now? They are going to lock it in. So it's a new look for this SK bot lane, one which we've personally had quite a lot of questions for. Jezu, Treatz, they're a duo which SK have tried very hard to keep together. They had role swaps involved. They're finally back down here, yet to find stable footing. This is a powerful champion to make a statement game on.
It'll be the first time this year, but Jezu does have 3 career games on Aphelios, all of which are wins.
That's quite a good win rate.
We'll see whether or not Jezu can help SK Gaming out, that champion. We've seen it piloted to great success this weekend. Graves will be the second lock-in there. And of course, now we turn our attention back to the MAD Lions. Which direction they're going to take it. They already know the bot lane of Aphelios, and they're going to reply with Jinx.
So the danger now is if you don't lock in the Thresh, there's a chance for the Aphelios Thresh to lock that in, ban away a Lulu, ban away a Braum, and you're actually in quite a difficult spot in that bot lane very early on, and you're likely to have a Graves on the top side, also winning lane quite passively just by pushing it out, which gives Gilius a really good platform to play the early game off of.
And of course,
Lions, though, they have to value Reeker more. They have to do it. They need to give him something which is more stable.
I mean, it definitely plays into the tropes or the approach to the game that we've seen from the MAD Lions. They will get Reeker on Viktor. Now, this is, I think, good for MAD Lions because the player that we had some of the bigger questions on is on a comfort pick that we know he can have impact on.
So I was having a chat with Vedius actually last week on the desk because there was something which I said on the post-game of their game versus BDS.
Whoa. Carry on with that in a second. Hecarim is locked in.
Backline access to mobile carries. I can see it. I can see that. That's okay.
So back to the Viktor points.
But the thing is that it feels like MAD Lions are kind of constrained on how they draft around Reeker. It would be easier for them to draft around something with a bit more personal, aggressive agency than something like that Viktor in the draft. And they've tried to do that with the Renex and stuff like that. It just hasn't been stable enough for the side of Reeker. So MAD Lions have been shoehorning this Viktor into comps it doesn't necessarily fit into, which is quite hard to execute on. Now, they have done that from time to time. It's just not making their job easy.
Okay, right. I get that. Let's see how this draft then wraps itself up. SK, in fact, will be the ones to ban the Thresh away, so they don't pick that or pair it up with the Aphelios. They've got that backline dive with the Hecarim. I want to see what Sertuss is going to be running into Reeker's Viktor as Orianna's been removed from one of his potentials.
Okay, so one of the things about banning out these mages like Orianna, which is somewhat of a counter to the Viktor in the very early lane, because you do slightly outrange them, level 6 with that shockwave. Obviously, you have some threat there. Is that it allows your Hecarim to scale up into relevancy too, because Hecarim doesn't really like fighting that early. It's not like it's not like when the last time we kind of saw him hugely in meta was with Udyr and stuff. Hecarim was always the champion which didn't fight early. You need to have something to prop him up just for a little bit.
Right, so of course, one of those options been removed yet. The Volley Bear taken away from SK, and Rakan will now be replied by Mad Lions. I do like seeing Treatz on engaged supports. In actual fact, he only plays engaged supports, pretty much.
Vex is an option here now from Sertuss. That's what I'm thinking. It's a really good dive buddy. Has a good level 1. Can deal okay with the Viktor in lane. I'm thinking that's a potential pick for Sertuss. Quite a inconsistent pick, and they're actually choosing to leave that until last, blocking the Leona.
Well, it's still another dive buddy, right?
Yes.
So you've got that engaged tools onto the Jinx, onto the Viktor. Ideally, for SK, picking up a kill before Unforgiven's Jinx can become excited. Now, how do Mad Lions round this draft out? And I want you to tell me if you think Viktor fits in or not.
Okay, so I actually don't mind it right now, because what it looks like by hovering the Braum and kind of seeing the Leona and the Hecarim is that they are going to be dove into. Now, you do have a couple of picks like the Braum, which work into that. Viktor works well into that. In terms of junglers, which is what they've left, the first pick I think of when it's being dove into is something like Viego, actually, because they come into you pick up the first kill when they're not so coordinated on the engage, you pick up the dead body, you use their skills, and you turn around the fight. You'd have double resets at that point. I wonder if Elyoya is going to go towards that. Hasn't played a game of it this split. Diana also not a bad answer in that early stage. Zeb is actually just going to be the Viego.
Nicely done. Well predicted here. So Mad Lions responding in phase 2. Got some answers to what SK will be throwing at them. It's going to be come down to execution then, of course, right? You need to make sure you don't get blown up from the Vigil, the Solar Flare, all sort of shadows. Now Sertuss, what is he going to run the mid lane? Vex was one of the ideas. Dive Buddy is the theme of the day.
On the whole.
And will this Akali get locked in? And it does. So Sertuss will be running that Akali.
Now, he hasn't has he played a game of it this split?
One
just played the one.
One game this spring. Right. It was obviously a loss. I'm taking a look at career, and it is his 4th most played with 18 games.
Okay, so a lot of comfort across the board, actually, from all of the stats which you're very helpfully putting out there. I think my worry from the side of Mad Lions is actually it does kind of cast back to that BDS game, but technically they probably should have lost. Now, you do have a lot of ways to peel back. My problem is, what do you have going forward? You have a Jayce, but putting everything on the Jayce and a potential Jinx pop-off at some point because someone oversteps, it's quite a slim win condition.
I get that, of course. And if, however, they are even footing and can force a fight around Dragon, Soul, something like that, you've already talked about how the composition can respond to that engage. So maybe that's the game plan? Patient controls?
Hard to execute. It's just hard to execute. Now, I appreciate Mad are trying to take off the training wheels a little bit and say, actually, you have to play well, but don't make your lives any harder than it needs to be.
Well, let's find out how this is going to play out, of course. We're going to load onto the Rift in just a moment or two, and I definitely want to ask Nymaera, where do you think some of this early action is going to play out? Let's find out as we hit the Rift. And welcome to Summoner's Rift, as Mad Lions with 5 wins and 5 losses are taking on SK Gaming at 2 and 8. I think it's pretty easy to see what SK's game plan is going to be. Now we need to see, can they make it happen? Can Sertuss, Gilius, and Treatz be the dive bomb combo to take down MAD Lions?
Yeah, you know what's really interesting? I actually remember back to the first matchup. I believe there was a Chemtech Soul involved against a Yasuo Diana, which really stunted how MAD Lions wanted to play out the game. They've decided they're not going to dive at all this game. They're going to be on the other side of this coin, trying to deal with the Hecarim and the Akali getting very deep into the backline and hopefully killing them and turning the fight around. Now, like I said, I have some questions about their aggressive plays in team fights. They do have some early game options though. Viego, Braum, actually fairly powerful because when you do hit people with that Q or any of your abilities on Viego, you do get that double hit, procs up that passive multiple times, and actually with that level 1 power, in fact, going to walk towards Sertuss.
Sertuss is going to get jumped on here by Reeker, poked in the face with a Q. Just a trade of blows, but Gilius will be losing his blue buff for now. Will his reply be? We need to track this.
I quite like this because I was thinking about, okay, where could actually Viego really gank though? Viktor's not going to help you much. The top lane is also 2 ranged champions. You're going to struggle to find the gaps there. If you could try and find something which maybe isn't quite as strong as vertical jungling, but allows you to have more presence on the bot side of the map, that's the one lane I kind of hover a question mark over and say, yeah, there's an option there.
Well, can they manage to make anything work? That will be the question. Sertuss steps forward, throws out that 5-point strike, and just shy of Reeker. As expected, that range is pushing him back somewhat. Up in the top lane, Jenax is busy pushing forward, and Elyoya actually going to make a sneaky move here. I wondered whether or not he was going to come in behind Sertuss. It wasn't the case, but look in the bottom lane, Jezu and Treatz already moving into their own jungle.
So this is a very important move from the SK bot lane because if you are going to go into this vertical situation, you know that the Hecarim doesn't really want to fight at this point. Akali shoved him out and was also really not able to fight pre-6, let's be honest. So it's really only the Aphelios and the Leona which can throw their weight around and stop the Viego getting into the thick of things. So Gilius done a topside clear, gone towards that level 3, looking to at least trying to even up some of this camp pressure by going towards the top side. Elyoya's read it though. Of course, that ward was cleared out. So Gilius not even going to bother walking into the enemy jungle. Deems it too dangerous.
Well, it ends up being 3 buff Jazz. Elyoya will be able to pick up his own blues. Red's still available to him in a moment. And of course, because Reeker had shoved the mid lane into Sertuss, he would have been able to respond first. Jenax, despite pushing into Armut, would have taken such a long time to get involved. The first room here, we're going to see Kaiser making his way up top. While that's happening, Unforgiven's picked up a cull and making his way back to lane.
And I have to say this is a couple of times I've seen this from MAD now and how Elyoya plays the map. As much as sometimes the 5v5s, I question their 5v5 potential in their comps, they do use early pushing lanes fairly well. You can see how it happens there. They have that level 1 potential. It gives Elyoya a momentary lead, see if he can actually evolve that into something larger. But MAD, at least in the early game, seemed to have a good plan of action.
Yeah, trying to keep Gilius a little bit behind. Some support there from Kaiser. You can see Jezu and Treatz, they're just pushing back this wave. Gilius making his way up top. So, going to be waiting for these ultimates to become available. We need to see where and how SK try to make these initiations happen. And really need to see how cleanly they can execute them because of the tools available to MAD Lions. Smokescreen comes down, Armut just uses the acceleration gate and easily walks away.
Because you don't have a flash on a Hecarim, it's not like you can get the other side of them and push them back into the lane. Armut, safe point in the lane, realizes his weak side, whereas the bot side of SK don't realize their weak side right now.
Not at all. Here comes Elyoya. The exhaust is already worn off. Treatz flashed away with his life. Now he's the target. Flame Choppers comes out, locks him down. Unforgiven, firing, zapping, shooting, rockets. First blood, MAD Lions.
Who needs an ignite when you've got a jungler coming down? They pick up the exhaust, use that to start off the play, and it's just an overextension from SK. Don't realize the state that they're in. Their jungler show top. You know that Elyoya cleared towards, did his awkward pathing in the early game to make sure he could spend more time bot side. Of course, he was going to show up at some point.
And of course, Elyoya will be able to use that sort of like the mind games, right? How the early pathing, the early invades played in his favor. MAD Lions 1,000 gold up. The kill goes to Unforgiven. I mean, that was just really well played here. Guys are hopping forward, landing the Winter's Bite, the exhaust, holding Treatz in place. He blew the flash early and gets killed.
And I mean, a large part of this is actually SK's bot lane has a stacked wave. It's really hard to give that up. You don't want to give up a full wave as it's held outside the tower. So it's kind of the lesser of two evils. Just think, oh, we'll push it in, maybe we'll get away with it. Elyoya's just there and punishes.
Nicely done. So MAD Lions off to an early lead here. And it lands in Unforgiven's hands, which is really, really important. While we have a brief moment here, I got a question for you.
You do?
Yeah. How do you think Reeker performs in his wins versus his losses for the Mad Lions?
I think he is incredibly inconsistent. So, very easy to point out the deaths at 14, the KDA. This guy is so impactful in his wins. Actually reminds me of his last split when he was in the RLs, in the Prime League. He was so pivotal to his team when he was on form. Took him a while to get there sometimes. Had to come in streaks and drips and drabs, and it feels like in Mad Lions he's yet to hit that real top potential we knew him to have last year.
I think Drakos used the term spoon-fed by Diana, and I think it's one of those things where when Reeker is supported by Kaiser or Elyoya, he's got the mechanical proficiency to make those plays happen. But I think you mentioned it, Nymaera, not the most self-sufficient, right?
No.
And that's something that we do need to keep track of as Mad Lions make their moves towards the playoffs. 5-5, XL ahead of them, Misfits ahead of them. So Mad Lions really need to find some consistent high performance, from the young mid laner.
Yeah, we see some support moves around the map, but unlikely to have an aggressive play just yet. So I'd love to chat a little bit more, actually, because, you know, you see Reeker as this player that, oh, okay, no, we don't get to talk about that. Get to talk about Jenax maybe dying.
Hold that thought as Jenax has got the flash, got the collateral damage. He's going to get stunned up in just a moment. Shock Blast will tag him out, but it forced the summoner spell, so Mad Lions will be happy with that and they back away.
SK are really struggling to track Elyoya. I think it's come from the lack of ability for Treatz to really get good vision down. Hasn't managed to get deep wards into the jungle, even when they've seen Elyoya show up on the map. And of course, they were the recipient of one of those ganks. Elyoya once again get into the enemy jungle. Words are hard sometimes. And get out with another steal.
Denies another buff from Gilius. Level 6 secured for Elyoya. That Heartbreaker available. Gilius still waiting to hit that ultimate mark. A couple of deep wards from Mad Lions in that red buff of SK Gaming. And Jezu and Treatz, they will use the time that Kaiser was not in lane to push this wave forward. Don't have any CS leads to speak of. Reeker, minor advantage in the middle lane, but keep looking at the minimap. Here comes Kaiser, jumps all the way forward onto Jezu, and that is just too easy. Treatz will be the next target. Gets zapped and shot down with the minigun. A double kill that, frankly, I don't think should have happened.
Probably not, because I think they caught... this might not... Should probably not have happened either.
Let's take a look here. Sertuss running for his life. Here comes Gilius. Has got the onslaught available. Sertuss escapes for now. He throws out the laser, but yeah, 2 quick, easy kills for Mad Lions duo.
And it's a lot of gold over to the Jinx. Unforgiven has, for me, been the real star outside of Elyoya on the side of Mad. This player who has come in with relatively few games at this level of experience, you know, coming in to this level of play, hasn't looked out of place, has looked like they can evolve to fit this style of play. Giving them this amount of gold on the premier damage carry at this moment, very, very bad news for SK.
I mean, 3-0, 300 gold bounty, CS advantage, 50 creeps left before that cull will pop and give him some additional gold. Mad Lions are 2,000 gold up. The only thing SK have going for them right now is they got themselves that first Ocean Drake. So one small objective.
They feel great about that.
Right.
It stops 2 early dragons being taken by Mad, but actually thinking about it, I'm fairly sure that Mad basically don't go towards the early dragons either. They tend to go towards Heralds. Gilius tends to go towards top lane again, but Armut just flashes out.
Man, this time around, we'll get the Summoner spell, but that's the first ultimate from Gilius. He is down level to Elyoya. Down around 20 CS as well, his farm. And this focused attack from Mad Lions has really mitigated any opportunity for Gilius to get involved.
And I mean, even when he's going towards that play, I mean, this is actually a real throwback. This is something which was pioneered by Samson White way back in Season 4. If you ward out a quadrant of the jungle, you know they're either going to be there or be on the other side of it in their own jungle. I mean, Mad Lions, it feels like the whole of this game has just been about jungle tracking, and Mad Lions are blowing SK out of the water with it.
And of course, because they're doing it so well, SK have no clue where Elyoya is. This is why he's been able to get involved to help out with that first blood in the bottom lane. And allowed Unforgiven to pick up more. Now SK, they're going to push into the river here. They've started off the Herald. Elyoya and Kaiser are nearby. Glacial Fissure is available.
Don't have the Hecarim ult.
Looking for some sort of engage. Now Armut is still in the top lane. That's a fantastic fantastic engage from Treatz, but he takes so much damage in reply. The Unbreakable Wall blocks so much from SK Gaming. They manage to pick up one kill, and Kaiser escapes with his life. Super Mega Death Rocket doesn't secure anything, and Armut is now trying to bully 3 members of SK.
Okay, fair play. Guess you don't need the Hecarim ult. Graves will do the heavy lifting for you. Elyoya goes in through a choke, and MAD Lions left really ruining that opportunity. Felt like that Chaos Storm was going to do a lot of the work for them. Maybe that could turn the fight around, but don't manage to land the damage on the important targets.
They don't, and Armut cannot thread the needle. I love the dab to get away. Had that shock blast landed. Hammer follow-up could have secured the kill, but I think Kaiser's Unbreakable does so much to mitigate damage as well.
It absolutely does. So it does avoid a worst-case scenario, but most of the time I look around this Herald and think, Hecarim's here. He's level 6. Just use the ultimate top. Maybe that's actually what buoyed MAD to go towards this kind of fight. Because actually, look at how much damage the Viktor gets out in return. Decent amount of turnaround, but it's the Graves that comes out top in this fight overall.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. Now that is the last place you want to fight a Viktor in a narrow corridor, because he will channel his inner Leonidas and you shall not pass.
Tonight we dine in Herald!
Well,
something.
almost. It's actually Gilius is going to be dining on it. But I mean, quietly, MAD Lions have accrued 3,000 gold in the lead, and they managed to pick up some early items. Kraken Slayer already for Unforgiven. He hasn't even finished his cull yet. And it's just thrift shopping here for Jezu on this Aphelios. Fortunately for Jezu and Treatz, they got outmatched during the early laning phase, and this will be a difficult deficit to come back from.
It's because you look at this Jinx, and she's playing massively into her identity, fighting front to back, dealing with the first targets, popping off from there. Aphelios is going to struggle to do the same, unless MAD kind of play against their comp's identity, try and engage too heavily on their own side, overreach, and the Aphelios actually gets to be on the other side and says, you're diving into me, that's great. I feel like Jezu's got an uphill battle to play just in terms of how these champions want to play themselves.
Yeah, of course. SK wanted to be going forward. They were the dive bomb combo.
Yeah, but now you're doing that with a gold deficit. You don't have the stats, you got to find a even larger engage, catching the right targets.
Not going to be able to, not going to make their lives very easy, but SK will secure the second dragon, while MAD Lions are pushing the top lane. I'm going to turn and jump here onto Elyoya. Flashes away for now. Here comes backup from Kaiser. Treatz sidesteps the Winter's Bite. Reeker chucks out a laser, and Jezu has already used that Moonlight Vigil. Flash away from Reeker while all that is going on. Jenax and the Herald in the bottom lane are picking up some plates, picking up some gold. They will secure the tower as well. And that is crucially important for SK, clawing back that gold deficit.
It is, because a lot of that gold's also going to the Graves. Now, a lot of the time, Graves can be quite an inconsistent carry. He's very low range. But if you're going for the lethality build and you have dive buddies, you know who pulled that off yesterday? Astralis versus Rogue. They pull out the helping hand in those damage combos. And suddenly, if you're playing against a Jinx who doesn't have the Gale Force, gone for the Kraken Slayer instead, maybe that makes the fights a bit more playable.
Well, we'll see, because Unforgiven is 30 CS up. When he has a Zeal, sold a Cull. Armut is already completed that Mythic. 20 CS advantage for Elyoya. It's getting to that point MAD Lions can just hit SK with their wallets.
Yes, they are packing heat. And Unforgiven is absolutely on fire. Actually, it looks like it's going to be the Phantom Dancer coming in second. Kraken Slayer, Phantom Dancer, really, really high auto-attack uptime. You're just going to keep getting out all of those Kraken Slayer procs.
And of course, going to be really, really good to deal with either Hecarim or Akali if one of them manage to jump onto you.
Don't stand and get free-fired on.
Exactly. I want to put some numbers really quickly to something that
I like numbers.
You mentioned a moment ago, Nymaera. You said that MAD Lions don't really like dragons.
No,
so
they don't.
They have not secured the first Drake in any of their games. Right, 0.
That's actually... I thought they've had one of them.
Also, Drake percentage. This is excluding yesterday's game. They only secure 43% of all the dragons in their games. That puts them 9th in the LEC. This is a team that does not prioritize this objective at all.
Save the dragons. I appreciate that. Conservationists. But what they are doing is getting gold for it.
Yes.
They're getting something for it. I know that... Well, just hang on. We might have a fight. In fact, we are going to.
Elyoya's going to get rooted up. Kaiser jumps all the way forward, chucks out the Fissure, knocks up Jezu and Treatz as well. The onslaught of shadows flashes away from MAD Lions. The dive bomb combo of SK picks up a kill. But here come MAD Lions. Jenax forced to flash for his life. Teleport is available for Armut, but he's not using it just yet. 3 members of MAD Lions running away, and Armut is pushing that bottom lane.
They are pushing that bot lane very heavily, and then you look at how much was committed to that? You do have, all the members of SK on that top side. They use a couple of ultimates, not in terms of all of the summoners. They do have some stuff left in the tank, but Kaiser still sells their life fairly dearly. A lot of their team gets out, and the HP bars aren't high enough from SK to continue any sorts of movements around the map. So MAD lose 1 kill, get the win on the other side of the map.
Yeah, they get the objective that really sort of matters to them. SK starting to get a little nervous, you have to feel.
I think they were getting nervous when the level 1 panned out the way it did, because then you're really struggling to deal with the Viego, who's getting a lot of gold at this point. Actually, I want to look towards the Viego's build as well, because I saw a pickaxe in there. I'm wondering if that was actually going towards the shield bow build. Actually, no, so it's going to be the blade first. Again, very, very buffed at this point. Very, very high damage. Elyoya's going to be a good threat on themselves. Unforgiven, under threat himself.
Unforgiven was able to pick up that tower. Flame Chompers will hold Sertuss for a moment, not until Jezu and Treatz take him down. That's a shutdown as well to the Aphelios. That is very important.
It is, and thank you, Observers, for bringing up the gold immediately afterwards. It's something, but imagine if you had shown that just before we had that shutdown. That would have been 2.5k at that point. Jezu using the Gravitum, knows there's no cleanse. That was one of the tools blown at that last engage by Gilius. So finding that momentary window of time to get a pick and pulling it off well.
Well, SK Gaming, they haven't given up just yet. Got themselves 2 dragons. They're now starting to pick the fight. Jenax gets chunked out. Accelerated Shock Blast being chased by Elyoya. He's got that Blade of the Ruined King 2 levels down. However, Jenax puts so much burst onto Elyoya. But it's Armut that brings the hammer down and picks up the kill.
Okay, so it turns out if you miss your stun and Jenax can free fire on you in that close range, gonna get lots of damage down. Now, no one's really in position to deal with this second Herald getting the first charge. So that is actually a good amount of damage done towards that mid lane out to turret on the side of SK, but they don't take the structure. Now, SK did take the bot out of turret, but they're really struggling to get themselves onto the map, and much like very early into the game, struggling to find any way to track these MAD members going across the map.
Now, I'm starting to think to myself, at 17 minutes, MAD Lions had some really good laning phase maneuvers that allowed them to build up the lead. But, in Dropped, you talked a little bit about how MAD Lions' initiation tools, go button, is a little lacking. And I'm starting to wonder if we're hitting this point in the game where you can start to feel it. MAD Lions, they're going to start off this dragon.
This is important. They need to win these kinds of fights because this is when they can really force the enemy to come into them.
Gilius is running all the way forward, gets hit back with the hammer. It looks like SK are going to concede the dragon, and they do. Glacial Fissure used for defensive play. Sertuss turning to look for a flank opportunity. And now he's left alone in enemy territory. So a little bit of flirting with the engaged. Neither team truly pulling the trigger.
No, because again, MAD can't really afford to pull the trigger. Even with this kind of gold, particularly with the first item built up from the Aphelios, having the ultimate available, it's actually quite dangerous to be uncoordinated in the way you go about things. SK similarly, looking at that gold advantage themselves, say, yeah, let's maybe not go towards the Jinx with all other items complete.
Yeah, buy some more time. SK have managed to pick up a few kills, pick up a tower, pick up a bounty. And that, 3k gold at 10 minutes, significantly less important now as we're approaching 20 minutes. And I'm starting to get some deja vu, some flashbacks. Do you remember how
You've been in this place before?
Yeah, we have. What happened the last time these two teams met?
Well, it got around to really late dragon fights, and maybe not quite around the side lane play. Sertuss would love to not have to deal with that himself. But yeah, it got towards that late game, the hyper late game. So many objectives. One of the, I'm not sure if it was the longest game of the split. It was. Okay, I don't actually have the actual game timer. I was just saying up the top of my head, but that was one of those games where MAD really felt hard done by because they did so well in the early game. They enabled Reeker. The spoon-sea feeding aside, they weren't playing the Yasuo or Diana. And they couldn't quite close out the game. Now, in this game, they don't have to worry about it being, the Chemtech Soul. They don't have to worry about this time. That's long gone. Good riddance to them. But the problem is, they also have to play out this game quite late now, because if you're going to force SK to come into them, you're really waiting around that Baron. You don't want to stack up dragons the entire game to allow the gold to mean less and less as the game goes on, as you rightfully said.
And I think for MAD Lions, they also now need to be a little bit more cautious as they move around the map, because SK have got a couple items under their belt. You saw how much damage Jenax did a little while ago onto Elyoya's Viego.
A lot, yeah.
The Collector's there, the Eclipse is there. Jezu's buying some time. He's still really far behind. Like, please don't misunderstand. But as long as SK can drag this game out, they do still have great burst, great engage. but they have no window for error. No mistakes allowed.
And actually, the team which I think about the most when it comes to low mistake compositions is actually KT over in LCK. They play a lot of these kind of compositions at very, very high risk. Similarly high reward if you can play them to the edge of their capabilities. I don't feel like SK have that same edge to it, though. They're playing into an enemy team composition, which loves to deal with what they're throwing at them. And Jezu is not able to wave clear under this turret. Just get out of there, buddy.
Yeah, Zap and the Shock Blast almost takes Jezu out. Mega Death Rocket is available. Look at that damage onto Gilius as well. Unforgiving gets excited from taking down the tower. Jenax can come in from behind. Gravitum locks down Mad Lions, but the damage reply is simply too high. This is what Mad's comp is designed to do. Punch back when SK dive onto you. Jenax unable to snipe from across the wall, and Mad get themselves a kill.
Oh, and SK, they look for the opportunistic pick. Finally, Mad Lions, they push beyond where they'd been playing before. They might not have the vision. You can see that Sertuss was on an unscouted flank. You didn't have the Graves in there in the thick of things, though. Only turned up for that ultimate at the end, which didn't achieve much of anything. Gonna come back to this replay and see how this came out. Again, look at the Aphelios weapons. Have that Graviton. We talked about it more in that last game, actually. When you do have engage was a bit more conditional or whatever, this can very much help you be secondary engaged. This time it's the primary engage. Blows that cleanse very, very early. If that Solar Flare lands just afterwards, maybe we're talking about a very different fight. As it turns out, though, Unforgiven does escape the initial engage. Question is, can you do that next time with no summoners?
I'm so glad you said that, because cooldowns for all of SK's abilities can be way, way, way quicker. It's a minute till the next dragon fight. But since we've been, watching these last few skirmishes and the towers going down, Mad Lions have now pulled that gold lead even further ahead, 4,000 up. Starting to look at like 2 items pretty much across the board here. Forgiven working towards his third. Jezu still doesn't even have 2, right? So it is still going to be patience for SK. But again, like we said, they can manage to pull this one back as Jezu may be forced to flash over the wall here. He does so, caught out a little bit. Now both bot laners without flash.
And you got to really feel for Jezu because he's kind of been... Look, if you have... Aphelios is one of these champions where if you are that good at them and you've got the right weapons for every fight and you've got enough gold, you can do anything on this champion. The possibilities are almost endless. Sadly, this is not one of those games. Jezu doesn't really have that much agency at this point. He's playing without the flash, like you were saying, playing with a Gale Force, a hope and a prayer, and you'd much rather have some cold hard cash in your hands to deal with this kind of team comp, which just simply doesn't have.
What I really like from Mad Lions is they are using their poke exceptionally well, forcing SK away. Sertuss with that Hourglass in tow, teleports in behind the Mad Lions. They're 5-man stack north of the Dragon. Sertuss will just about be spotted out here, chunked by the Shock Blast. 2,000 hit points. SK are inside the pit. This could come down to a smite fight. Gilius rampages his way forward, smites it away. Elyoya secures the kill. He manages to escape with his life. Solar Flare sidestepped as well, and Sertuss cannot land any skill shots. Mad sneak that from under SK.
I get that's a bit of a flip. I get it, but you gotta feel for SK at that point. You land that smite, you get that dragon. Actually, you've got a bit of a win condition to play through at that point, because if you get to the next dragon, you could have forced Mad Lions to come into you, play against their team composition. Not to be the case. Mad Lions now have stopped so much of the pressure which SK had been building up towards in the early game. They just kill it flat.
They really do, and for Mad Lions, despite the fact they do have a comp that can counter-engage, they are being relatively cautious. That's the second dragon in a row where it's very, very clear what Mad Lions' intentions are. Don't get caught in the pit, don't get engaged on, and just get the hell out once the dragon's secured.
It does kind of feel like these fights will go from bad to very, very worse if you start losing the first couple of kills without too much return damage. So, and that's at the point you start worrying about what happens if we lose hard enough that we lose a Baron, what happens if we lose hard enough that we lose a Soul Point. You can understand that Mad Lions have their eyes on the prize and saying, look, we are not throwing this game.
Hypothetical question.
All right, this is a hardball one. You're testing me.
What percentage chance do you give SK to come back into this game?
You know what? I'm feeling quite generous.
Okay.
Because I think that it is going to come down to later game objectives. I don't think Mad have a very clean way to play out this game up until those objectives come on the table, and that's where they're most at risk. I think it's about a 30% chance that SK come back.
30% chance that SK come back! Just as you finish the sentence, Armut gets gets taken down by Jezu. Elyoya's looking for some engage opportunity as Reeker is making his way to the top lane. Treatz is going to make his way north, and just like that.
So as I was saying, it's about 40% maybe, or maybe even more than that. SK find the pick.
They absolutely do, managing to catch out Mad Lions. The kill goes to Jezu as well. And it actually looked to me like Mad Lions were trying to set up for a play, and they get surprised.
So, I mean, Mad were asking, where's Treatz? Well, there's Treatz. Gets right on top of Armut. Braum can block projectiles, can't block the Leona's body flying through the air, and Armut thought they were safe behind their support. Absolutely not to be the case.
So, moments before that fight played out, Nymaera said 30%. And all of a sudden, Jezu gets another. He's being very generous. That jumped to 40%. It is still a 3,000 gold deficit. It is still 2 dragons apiece. And SK are now going to continue to just wait things out. Jenax just picked himself up the rapid fire cannon. Jezu's been sitting on that Bloodthirster for a little while, but he is playing into Infinity Edge, Phantom Dancer, Kraken. So again, I think we should get comfy. I feel as though Mad Lions' trepidation is going to force him to play towards a Baron, towards a Soul, and see if they can,
I think that was fairly obvious.
smother SK.
It's fairly obvious. And again, this actually does remind me quite a lot of the BDS game that they had, the super late game one, where it came down to crazy late game team fights because they played for an early game advantage. They played to crush through the early game with Elyoya denying the enemy jungle, getting up in their face, but actually they haven't managed to convert that into a game win. And now they've kind of stalled out. They need to find some kind of magic across the map. This could start here.
Jenax level 15 to Elyoya's 12. Collateral damage is available to him. Holding on to it for now. Not gonna find the shot! Oh, Jenax, that was so close.
He can't keep getting away with this, narrator. He could keep getting away with this. That's the second time Elyoya has really played close to the line on the razor's edge, and Jenax hasn't quite cut that way. Gilius not able to find an engage after the Solar Flare misses.
No, but it did force the flash from Unforgiven. Miss, dodge, whatever the perspective will be. Crucially, no flash for Jinx, right?
Yeah, they won't care at that point. Like you were saying, the cooldown of the flash much lower than something like a Solar Flare. Gonna go back to this play. I mean, he hits the stun this time. Last time he didn't do that. Things got very spicy, but Jenax really flexing their muscles, and it's a game of millimeters sometimes, and they've gone Mad's way.
I clenched so hard. I really wanted Jenax to get that kill. Didn't happen though. 0-2-1. He's got the teleport available with 30 seconds from the next dragon. SK try to start a fight. There's no Solar Flare. There's no collateral damage, but they do have the Onslaught of Shadows. They do have the Moonlight Vigil. And I need to actually look at the minimap before I keep talking. It does not.
I can help you with that. Look, there's a minimap. It's
Like
crazy.
everyone is there just yet. Instead, mid lane control. Nymaera and it's Mad Lions actually pushing SK back just a little bit. And here comes Sertuss once again with an attempted flank TP.
So they tried this the last time. Mad sniffed it out the last time. So look for those blue trinkets. Sertuss probably going to sure can flip over that wall, stunting to the back line.
Oh, man.
Has
So much damage on the trees. Again, don't make him Leonidas. Don't walk through those chokes. Sertuss still waiting so patiently. Kudos to the observers. They toggled the vision to show exactly limited information Mad Lions have available.
Unforgiven.
There we go. The chompers come out, and all of a sudden, Unforgiven sniffed it out. No flash available to him. Elyoya is going to jump onto Sertuss, puts a lot of damage down. Here come the rest of the Mad Lions. Sertuss is going to be able to dash away back to SK. The dragon is up and available. The perfect execution used for an escape. Again, SK, they're looking for the fight, and Mad Lions are playing collected enough to not allow it.
mission failed. We'll get him next time. Gets about 90% of the way through to that. I was thinking, he has flash. He's got an ultimate. Surely this is a really dangerous position to get onto the Jinx. But when you notice that Kaiser's there with the exhaust, with the flash, with the ability to turn things around, Sertuss bails out of the play, and SK have no other offensive options left to back him up.
Next time you use that line, you have to put the gravelly Call of Duty voice on, because that's why I was giggling to myself. Mad Lions are now on Soul Point. They still maintain this 3,500 gold lead. They still maintain a very healthy respect for SK Gaming. And we'll revisit the question one last time. 40% odds for SK?
Does this mean I got it wrong last time?
I just want to know, as this game is playing out, do you think SK have more of a chance to win now, or are they falling further behind?
So,
I'm just trying to get an idea.
So I think with 3 items on the Aphelios, you're getting a little worried. With a lot of items onto the Graves, you're getting a little worried. I think that actually very important breakpoints have been hit across the board for SK. It's just a case of whether Mad can actually really hold SK over the flames around the Baron, around the Dragon. They haven't done that so far.
So
I think
percentage, give me percentage, give me percentage.
I think it's gone down. I think it's gone to about a 25% at this point. I think that they're really struggling, and Jenax luckily gets away with that one.
25%, if I heard correctly. Mad Lions continue to play us out. I think you're wrong, young man. I think Mad Lions...
Sure you're working.
They are not convincing me that they have answers for SK. Now, SK, if you just keep throwing punches, eventually one of them's going to land. There's Sertuss again. Level 16. Gonna find Elyoya. Gilius making his way up. SK, the 5-on-5. Mad Lions caught inside the river. Sertuss gets Elyoya.
And that's so huge.
4.
That's the smite down. It means that Mad can't play as aggressively to try and contest vision. That's a pretty free and easy pick from the side of SK, because you can see that little ball of light coming from the red side jungle. That's why Elyoya turned that corner, tried to burst him out, but was alone, was way too far forward, and that percentage is ever changing. These momentary mistakes might change the course of this game.
The reason I like sort of play this little game with you is just to highlight or to discuss that items and gold don't always necessarily reflect who's in charge. I mean, Jenax and Sertuss, they get their second kill in a minute. Lands once again in Sertuss's hands. 3-0-2.
It's a lapse of judgment from Mad Lions. It is just, I think at this point they do. We talked about the lack of aggressive options from Mad. Now can they deal with SK when they've set up first? I think they have to just let it go.
It looks to be the case. 8,000 hit points. Mad Lions making their way forward. Super Mega Death Rocker is going to be fighting in a moment or two, but Baron's going low, Baron's going down. Baron is secured by SK Gaming, and they're looking for the fight as well. There's no Onslaught of Shadows. Kaiser throws out the ultimate, but Treatz from downtown with his end blade blocks up Kaiser. Sertuss shuts down Unforgiven, and Armut is running for his life. SK Gaming with 25% chance of winning. Get themselves 2 kills, get themselves a Baron, and get themselves 2 more.
And Mad Lions, they managed to get so far into their game plan. They managed to get so many of these neutral objectives. They were sat on soul point, sat with a good position around Baron. And these momentary mistakes, the lapse of judgment, makes it topple like a house of cards. You can see what happens. I mean, they don't want to engage through into SK, but they've then poked their heads around the corner, gets taken clean off by SK in the counter engage.
SK Gaming now have all the tools they need to make up for those deficits. It's Sertuss, and it is, of course, Jezu picking up those kills in the fight. Now it's SK in the gold lead. A minute to go for the next dragon. It is soul for Mad Lions, so SK have to contest this. But they have every single time. Maybe this time they'll find the fight.
Potentially. I mean, on the other side of Mad Lions, of course, we still got to check in with the items they built up there. Serilda's coming in from Jayce. That poke is going to seriously hurt. Look to see if they can check out Treatz again. That's the one person I'm looking at saying, yeah, they don't have that sustained, very important part of the engage. Saw it a couple of times in the mid-game, which stunted what SK wanted to do. Now, Mad Lions don't have a chokehold over the vision. They have bits and pieces, but SK, they've claimed their territory now.
I mean, Mad Lions haven't been able to push past the inner turrets. We're 33 minutes into this game, and Mad Lions have been trying to duck, dodge, dip, and weave. And eventually, SK managed to find the punch that landed. They are now in the lead. They're pushing multiple lanes. Armut is pushing top. He's got the teleport available to him. If something breaks out, it's 15 seconds until Dragon. Based on what I've seen from Mad Lions, I think they will concede this and make a fight for the next one.
One thing to talk about is, of course, that minion waves actually start to move faster the later you get into the game, so watch out how quickly these structures fall behind with something like a Graves or this Jayce on the side lane, because those minions catch up to them so much quicker. This is going to be a dragon taken. It is going to be a tower going down in response, but Mad, again, it is exactly what we said from the start of the game. They have ways to get out ahead early, but they cannot engage when it's not on their terms.
I need to remind everybody that SK Gaming beat Mad Lions the last time
I'm telling you, man, it was in their
faced. When you look at the standings, SK 2-8, Mad Lions 5-5. The way that this game's playing and with the initiation tools in SK, as I mentioned, I think SK are in with a good shot here. I feel like Mad Lions have played a little too scared. I think their composition hasn't, as you rightly pointed out, Nymaera, it doesn't have the proactive tools to push the leads. And with the, frankly, afraid, respectful, nervous approach to the game, Mad Lions allowed SK back in.
Now, I do think that they They lost their way in this game as well, particularly around that Baron. That was two senseless picks for no real reason. Honestly, it started off with something like this, with trying to play in the side lanes, but not going to be picked off there is Armut. He's going to quickly get out of that lane. But you can kind of see how MAD Lions kind of showed the opening first. Credit to SK for taking it, but MAD Lions did have a good lead. They had that soul point before SK had it. They had the positioning around Baron. They just had that lapse in judgment.
They absolutely did. And that's a problem, though, when you do play that defensive
style.
No, I don't want to say high risk. I want to say like defensive or like incredibly minute margin of error.
Yes.
Right? They cannot afford to lose the vision. They cannot afford to be surprised. But then at the same token, how do you win with that style?
You know what another way of saying low margin of error is? High risk.
I'm a glass half empty kind of guy. So
Well, I think MAD Lions might be a glass smashed kind of team because they are really, really ruining the lead which they've thrown at this point. Now, we do have a bit more of a congregation in the mid lane, priority being forced, and some vision being put down as a result of it.
very quickly, as MAD Lions may face down SK, reminder that MAD Lions composition does have the tools to counter-engage, to reply. They cannot afford to get caught out. Sertuss has found a flank. Gilius making his way to level 16.
Sertuss has a death cap too, which is going to be terrifying for the side of this Jinx. You don't have a shield bow. You don't have a Gale Force to try and buy any distance as well. A lot of this game, a lot of these fights is all squarely on Kaiser, just neutering the carries of SK getting onto the backline.
How does SK then prevent that? It is a minute to Baron, 2 minutes until the Soul, and it looks like SK are making a beeline for Baron. It looks to me on the minimap, MAD Lions making their way up north as well. This could very well be the final fight. 37 minutes into this game. And SK challenging the vision. They've got a lot of wards in the river. And they're about to clash with MAD.
And how much would this mean to SK as well? Set 2 and 8. You know, they've been really struggling to find form, consistent form. If they were to get 2 wins that head-to-head, even though they're unlikely to draw level with them, they can dream at this point. 2-0 over MAD. That's a heck of a result to pull out from a team that's struggling.
And Jezu plays his first Aphelios of 2022. He has 3 wins in 3 games played in previous
Trying to
seasons.
keep the clean sheet.
Can he do it again? 4-1. This is a man who, frankly, got embarrassed in the laning phase. I think I'm forgiven in Kaiser. Stomped on Jezu and Treatz, but as time has played out, Treatz has been able to find some of that CC. And we're going to be setting up for this final fight. And we're going to take a quick look. Summoner spells available for everybody. SK. Oh, that shock blast hurts.
It's on to 2 targets with lifesteal. So Jezus is going to get 1 wave, and that's not going to mean that much.
Look at Sertuss.
This is potentially the last fight. Jezu going up to the wave. MAD trying to punish.
Gilius is the target. Here comes Sertuss from behind. He's found Reeker. Not going to be able to get the heal just yet. That's a golden Reeker in the hourglass form. And Sertuss jumps forward. So much damage. A double kill for Jezu with a Moonlight Vigil. Another for Jenax. They've done it. SK Gaming have aced the MAD Lions and are setting their sights on the base.
SK Lightning does strike twice, and it strikes against MAD Lions. Their timer ran out. They played too scared. They played with their food, and SK bit back.
Down 3,000 gold in the laning phase. Completely out-jungled by Elyoya, and it does not matter. SK fight back to go 2-0 against the MAD Lions. Look at their faces.
I love League of Legends, Trevor. I love it when we have these kind of underdog stories, shall we say. We had a lot yesterday, and SK continuing that trend today.
Gilius has played 10 games at Hecarim prior to this. He won 7 of them. He's 11th, he picks up a win. Jezu remains undefeated in all of his Aphelios games. Why did we not see it sooner? And then Akali mid, it is a different type of look on team composition. It did not work early, but it did work late.
It did, and we were sat there wondering at level 1 to 3. Just
Key player of the game, at LEC on Twitter, Gilius, Sertuss, Jezu. Sorry.
It's absolutely fine. All of those really good players. Played very well in the dives.
Absolutely did. What a fantastic game here from SK, and what's very, very interesting, MAD Lions now 5 wins, 6 losses in that middle of the table. So, race for playoffs.
They've been rabbit hopped over.
At 0-2 against SK, if SK pick up a couple extra kills,
That's
interesting.
It's a thread.
Now,
it's a thread to pull.
Just before we go, I have not told Nymaera what I'm about to say, and I wanted to quickly congratulate him for a great LEC debut. I want to share a very brief story, because 6 years ago, this gentleman made fun of me, quite literally, in a live League of Legends event, making fun of my national rugby team. Fast forward a few years, here we are casting the LEC together. Congrats. It's an awesome debut. Welcome to the show. It's been a pleasure to have you. I have to just take one thing for everyone at home. I have a saying that reminds me of this scenario. It's that work hard enough so that your idols become your rivals and then surpass them. That's exactly where we're at. GG, dude. What a great weekend.
Don't know what to say.
On the other side of the break, Ashley will be joined by the victorious Jezu on bouncing back in the race for playoffs and whenever the Mad Lions. I didn't mean to embarrass you.